guys, it's Meg, and it's that time of the week again where we get to talk about the best show on television, AMC's The Walking Dead. Today we're talking about Season 5, Episode 9. There was a new promotional trailer released the other day, and I believe it was called Another Day. And it was only 30 seconds long, but it had so many different clips and scenes from future episodes that I wanted to break it down and talk to you guys about it. I like to go as kind of scene by scene, pausing the trailer as I watch it and kind of write down what I see in the different scenes, you know, every time I press pause. And so that's what I want to talk about. It's funny because I was watching it, and you know, when you watch it at full speed, the 31 seconds, I mean, it ends so quickly and you're like, what did I just see? I don't even know what I just saw. And then when you're pausing it kind of at every scene that they show you, I was writing down, you know, notes about it, and I was at like 3 pages by the time the 31 seconds was over. So yeah, it was a great trailer. I really enjoyed it. Please, if you're gonna post any spoilers in the comment section, please put a big spoiler warning so that we all have a chance to look away before you write anything. To start out the trailer, we hear Rick's voice kind of in the background overlay of the video saying, "We do what we need to do and then we get to live." Later in the promotional trailer, we see Rick sitting inside of what we believe is a barn in the dark with a small fire and the group surrounding him, and it looks like that is when he's saying this. So it sounds like they have some stuff to take care of before they get to live. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about there, but we'll get to that later. We see Rick getting out of a blue van in the forest. In a previous trailer, we also saw the same blue van. We see it when Rick and crew are running towards it. It looks like they're kind of in, you know, running real fast at the ready. They have their guns out, you know, ready to take down any walkers, and they run up to the van. So we now know, I think it's a van. I don't know what you would call it, but it looks kind of like a truck van. Anyways, they're obviously using that to get around. We also see them in another car at one point in the trailer as well. But we see them in the forest. Rick's getting out of the van. Then the scene switches to the group walking in the forest. We see Tyrese eyeing a skeleton on the ground. I think that's just also kind of showing us just how decayed the bodies are, and that it's so common for you to just see dead bodies on the ground, like wherever you go. It's kind of a funny world they're living in now, where normally you would not see a dead body on the ground. It would be unusual, and they're just walking past it like no big deal. The scene switches, and we see Glenn, Carol, Michonne, Rick, and Daryl all around the small fire inside what we think is a barn. I mean, it pretty much looks like that later in the promo as well. So it looks like they drive in the woods. At some point they take shelter in this barn. It seems very stormy out, which we see also in the trailer. So that's when we see Rick say the last part of that overlay phrase, and he says, "Then we get to live." So it looks like they're talking around the fire at night, and he's giving them some sort of Rick pep talk, which he's very good at most of the time. Then we see it's very dark out. There's light streaming in through kind of the slats in the barn. We see Daryl walking alone to the door of the barn with a crossbow in his hands. It's very dark. It seems like it's stormy. We see like a lot of flashing lights. It's kind of loud. So it'll be pretty interesting to see an actual storm in The Walking Dead. You know, we don't really see many variations in the weather. I've never really been to Georgia, so I'm not really sure how the weather is normally down there. It kind of seems like it's hot all the time, so they may not have much of a winter there. So it would be interesting to see some sort of weather conditions happen there to them. I've always wanted to see them in the snow, but I'm guessing that's probably not something that happens down there a lot. But yeah, so it seems kind of scary. You know, he peeks through the barn door. It looks like it's kind of open, not shut all the way. It looks like something's gonna happen. Then we get flashes forward again. We hear an overlay of Rick's voice saying, "I know we'll be okay because this is how we survive." Again, another amazing Rick pep talk. I always love these promotional trailers where we get to hear Rick's voice, you know, on top of the trailer. He has such a great voice, and the way he says things, you know, his phrases, it just gives you chills. Unfortunately, what we hear in the promotional trailers is not always what we're going to hear in the actual television show. So a lot of times what Rick appears to be saying, or what any of the characters appear to be saying in the promotional trailer, is oftentimes a couple sentences pieced together that doesn't even say the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see what Rick is actually saying. Later in the promotional trailer, we hear Michonne saying something as well, which we'll get to in a minute. But it looks like in both of the trailers that we've seen so far, she's giving some sort of her own pep talk, trying to convince someone, probably Rick, to take a chance on a new place, maybe? Not quite sure, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We, next, as Rick is saying, I know we'll be okay because this is how we survive, we get a view of a road during the day. Sasha, Maggie, Rosita, I think? Maggie or Rosita, I think it was Maggie, with Eugene on one side, and then Rick and Glenn and Michonne on the other side. They're facing a bunch of walkers walking down the road. So quite a few walkers in this promo. You know, later, which we'll also talk about in a second as we move through this, but we see a big herd in the road as well. So definitely a lot of walkers that they're fighting off. They seem to be in kind of a bad area for that. They're facing a bunch of walkers walking toward them in the road. And then we see, flash forward, walkers walking. Sounds so funny when I say that. Walkers walking towards Rick and Michonne. We see Sasha fighting a walker that's really close to her. Rick's killing walkers with a machete. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of action going on, a lot of walker kills. They seem to be coming into contact with a ton of walkers that they're having to fight off. Seems kind of dangerous. We see Michonne looking down at something, and then it flashes to another scene where you see a bunch of walkers cut in half. So we only see their bottom half. So like from their hips down and their legs. We don't see any like torsos. We don't see any heads or arms. So it's kind of interesting. Why would there just be walker legs and walker hips and butts everywhere? Not quite sure where they're going with that. Maybe someone was taking out their anger on walkers when they were killing them, or maybe Michonne did it. Maybe they're trying to say Michonne did it. I mean, they seemed very clean cut, so maybe she was slicing through them with her sword. I'm not really sure at all where they're going with that, but it was definitely unusual. It was not a normal walker kill, you know? It looked very clean cut. No heads, no arms, no torsos, just legs and feet. So, kind of weird. What do you guys think about that? Then the scene flashes to Daryl moving fast through the woods. He has his crossbow at the ready as if he's hunting something or seeing something, running after somebody. In a different promo, we saw him bending down on the ground, touching like the grass in front of him. It looked like he was tracking somebody. So again, wondering if the group is being followed and Daryl's finding out, or if Daryl gets separated from the group and he's trying to track the group. I'm not quite sure. I think we're at a point now where I don't really think the group's going to be separated too much. I can't imagine that they would do that again. It seems a little predictable, but who knows? You never know with Walking Dead. Gotta flip the page real fast. It flashes to another scene of Daryl shooting a walker from behind. He's standing in kind of an open field. Again, he's by himself, so not sure what's going on there. Maybe he's he could be hunting. I mean, he could not just be on his own. He could just be off hunting or something, and maybe he sees something, comes back to warn the group. Not sure. Then it's nighttime again, and they're driving a car through a lot of walkers, running them down. This reminded me, it's been a while since I've read this portion of the comics, so I apologize because I don't quite remember everything from this portion of the comics, but I've tried to rack my brain on it, and it reminds me of, there was some point where Rick and Carl and like Michonne maybe, I'm not sure, but they were driving a car and they were trying to, you know, they were mowing down walkers because they came into contact with a huge herd. And because we saw the huge herd in the last episode of the mid-season finale, like I've said many times, I don't think that was the very last time we'll ever see them. I think they wouldn't have shown us such a huge amount of walkers if we weren't going to see it in the second half of the season. Based on the promo so far, it just seems like they're constantly running into a ton of walkers, you know, not just one here or there, but a lot all at once, you know, and they're really fighting for their lives and fighting to survive here. So seeing them, it looks like they're trying to escape the herd or something. They're in a car, they're mowing walkers down. we see Rick inside the car, then Walker blood splattering on the window, and Rick is kind of lunging to the side. I'm not sure if he's getting out or if he's going to yell at somebody. It looked to me like he was in the passenger seat, but I'm assuming that he's driving, because in a previous promo we see the top of the car and Walker's bearing down on the top of the windshield, and we see Rick in the driver's seat. So I'm assuming it's just kind of a play on how we're looking at it. You know, it looks funny when we're seeing it, but I'm assuming he's driving. We then see Maggie opening a door. Is it in the barn? It looked like it was in the barn, and she sees a walker on the ground with lots of trash around it. We know that Maggie is not going to be the normal Maggie in this second half of the season. We know that she's going to be different. I can already see a change in her. She has her hair up in a ponytail. We've never seen her wear, I mean, maybe we've seen her hair in a ponytail before, but all of a sudden, you know, her hair has been down the entire last season and probably the season before that. I don't think I've ever seen it in a ponytail before, and it's pulled back in a ponytail, and she has a very solemn look on her face, like throughout every scene in the promo where we see her. And so we definitely know she's not going to be the same Maggie. I'm not sure, you know, they may have been in the barn and investigating it to make sure it's safe, and she sees the walker on the ground. I don't know. We then see Rick, Tyrese, Michonne running away from the Shirewell estates. And you see the wall of the Shirewell in the background. So maybe they're all leaving it, or maybe they peeked over the top to investigate and then are running back to get the others. Not sure there. Based on previous promos, we know that the town is full of walkers, and we also know that this is where Noah is from. I mean, I guess we don't know, but based on all of the promotional videos I've seen, I would say that Shirewell is where Noah is from. It's his community. We heard him talk before about having a place where they had a wall, and I don't believe this is Alexandria's safe zone because their wall was much bigger. But they're running back. We then see Maggie. Nope, I read that one already. We then see Tyrese looking down at Noah, who's kneeling on the ground. Tyrese says to Noah, "It's not over. This isn't the end." And like I said, I believe that this community was where Noah lived. In a previous promotional video, we saw Noah opening a door to a home, and Tyrese was there, and kind of Noah was hobbling up in the background. And I believe that that was his home, and he's probably going to find his family dead or missing. It's likely, because we see him crying in different promos, that he does find his family dead. I can't imagine he would be crying that much if his family was still alive and just missing, because I feel like then he would have some sort of hope. He wouldn't be so devastated. And in a previous promo, we saw him on the ground just bawling. So Tyrese is trying to comfort him. Later in the promo, we see Noah running towards the house, and Tyrese is running up to him and tries to cut him off. So again, that makes me think that this is Noah's home and he's looking for his family, and it's probably not going to be pretty what he finds. We saw them at one point in another promo where Michonne was kind of looking through a house, and then there was a walker that came out. So I'm not sure if that was somebody that Noah knew and that was the house that they were in, or maybe they've gone through different houses. I'm not sure. And they could be checking the home for the different homes there to see if there were any supplies. I can't imagine they have a lot of supplies at this point, having left the hospital so abruptly. Okay, so it's at night again, back to the Stormy barn. And Maggie and Rick have their backs against the barn door. Daryl is holding it with his arms. We see Abraham run up holding it with his arms. It looks like somebody is trying to fight their way in. It's likely a ton of walkers. I'm imagining the herd coming up on the barn or something. Suddenly they are under attack. Probably when we saw Daryl earlier walking towards the barn door, he probably sees something and then runs and grabs the others, and they all come to hold the barn door shut. I'm assuming it's some kind of storm and walkers coming, and somehow they have to escape. It's really scary. Maybe what we see when we see Rick and Michonne in the car, maybe they're trying to lead the walkers away, or maybe, you know, trying to make some sort of commotion so that the walkers move away from the barn so that the rest of the group has a chance to escape. That could be a theory. Then it flashes towards a close-up of Maggie and Glenn's face with Abraham in the background, all holding the door shut. And you know, Maggie's face just looks like she's putting all of her weight and effort into holding the door shut, and it just seems like it's probably not just 1 or 2 walkers, it's probably a lot. In the next scene, it's daytime again. We just have Maggie and Sasha. They're walking somewhere, they're out and around, and they turn abruptly, raise their guns as if they see someone or something. It kind of sounds like they weren't expecting anyone, and all of a sudden someone appeared there. I have my ideas on who it is potentially, but I'm not going to say that because I don't want to ruin anything. We then hear Michonne's voice saying, "Don't you want one more day with a chance?" But in a previous promo, she was saying something a little bit different. So I kind of think this "one more day with a chance" thing is just a play on her words. You know how they edit pieces together to make us think she's saying one thing when she's really saying something else. I kind of have a feeling this takes place after she's talking to Rick, maybe, or because I feel like Rick would be more against going wherever Noah wanted to go. He would be trying to probably do something else. So keep them moving, you know, constantly moving. And it sounds like Michonne is really wanting them to find a safe place to live and survive. And maybe she's trying to convince them to follow Noah, or maybe follow someone else. We're not sure. But I'm not sure that "Don't you want one more day with a chance" is exactly what's going to be said in the actual show. Then we get a clip of Abraham, Glenn, Maggie, Michonne, and Rosita, weapons drawn, walking towards something. They see something. I'm kind of thinking they're walking up to the Shirewell estates, and they're just kind of on high alert. Then it flashes back to nighttime again, and these scenes at night are just so super scary. I love a love-hate relationship with the nighttime scenes, because I feel like I miss things sometimes because the episodes are so dark that it's harder for me to see. Maybe it's just because I don't have great vision, but I also like them because it's so much more terrifying fighting walkers at night when you can barely see them. So we see Rick kind of on the ground amongst a bunch of dead walkers. It looks like they've just finished, you know, they've just like either crashed the car or the car stopped working, and there's skid marks behind them. And there's dead walkers all around. There's a red glow, which is all we find out is because the headlights are covered in like bloody guts and stuff. And we see in the background there is a herd of walkers again. So there's just so many walkers bearing down on them. Glenn is standing on, I think he's standing on like the hood of the car or the trunk of the car or something, and he's looking, you know, at Rick and ahead. And you see, I think you see, who was it? Michonne's off to the left-hand side of the screen. She has her sword right there. It's very smoky. Like I think that it's either fog or the car actually crashed and is smoking, not working, whatever. Something's wrong with it, so they have to leave the car. Like I said, I'm wondering if this is how they escaped the barn, or they provided some kind of commotion to draw the walkers away from the barn so the others could escape. If that's actually what happened, hopefully they get back to the others quickly. Hopefully they didn't go too far. We then saw Noah running toward the house, which we already talked about, and we actually see Michonne's face saying "with a chance," and kind of wonder who she's talking to. Like I said, we guess she's talking to Rick. We see a scene with Glenn at night, and he fires his gun and it lights up his face and everything. It makes me wonder why he is alone out there. So spoiler alert for the next couple minutes here. Like I said in my previous predictions video, Maggie in the comics attempted to kill herself after she lost all of her family at the farm. And she attempted to, I think, hang herself in the woods. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what she did. And Glenn found her just in time. I think Glenn found her just in time. I'm wondering, I'm hoping that... I'm hoping we actually do get to see this, because I would really like to see this drastic change in Maggie. Obviously, I don't really like seeing attempted suicides or anything on television. I don't know. I have personal issues with that, but it would be interesting to see this huge change in Maggie's character, and also see how it affects Glenn, that she's willing to leave him behind and take her own life and just be done with it all. So I'm wondering if Glenn is looking for her and goes into the woods. It looks like there's some high like fields or something right there. High grass, not high fields. I don't know what I'm talking about. and he shoots his gun, and I'm wondering if that flash kind of illuminates Maggie hanging there, and then the scene flashes and we see that. That would be really interesting. We see Rick looking at the front of the car. He has his machete out. He's looking at all the blood and guts on the front of the car, and then it flashes and we're done. So as you can see, probably from the length of this video and how much I've been talking, there were quite a few different clips and scenes thrown into 30 seconds. I thought it was a great promo. Like, it made me really excited for the second half. It let me know that there's gonna be a ton of walkers, some sort of stormy weather, but there's gonna be nighttime scenes, which I really like because it's so much more terrifying not being able to see clearly. I mean, they're out in like the pitch black, you know, they don't often have flashlights or things like that, so it's pretty cool to see them fighting the walkers off. I'm not sure if all of this is going to be in episode 9. When I first saw that the video was put up on the AMC blog, it said season 5 episode 9, as if this was a promotional trailer for it. If so, it's an awful lot for them to throw into one episode, because we also saw in a previous video them burying Beth, or some kind of funeral for Beth. We saw Maggie crying. We saw them walking along a road, you know, Rick carrying Judith. So I'm not entirely convinced that all of this is going to be in one episode. Maybe it'll be spread out, or maybe I'm totally wrong. I've seen a lot of comments on the YouTube comments under the AMC's video when they put it up about how people are worried that we don't see Carl or Judith, or who else didn't we see? In this particular one, we didn't see Father Gabriel. We didn't see Tara at all. I did think it was a little unusual we didn't see Tara. But I don't really think that it's foreshadowing anything. I'm sure that they're there. They're just choosing particular clips to put into this promo. You know, they only have 30 seconds. They're just looking for stuff to make us really interested in it. And probably, I mean, you know, when they never showed Beth in the last one, they want us to wonder. They want us to say, where's Judith? Oh my gosh, where's Carl? Where's Tara? No, you know, where's Noah? They want us to be worried. It keeps us interested. It keeps us analyzing things. So, you know, obviously it keeps us wanting to watch it on February 8th. So all in all, I loved the promo. It was awesome. It was great. Can't wait for season 5, episode 9, February 8th. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what your theories are. Again, please no spoilers. And that's it for this video. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.